Welcome in, everyone, to Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Just Mark and I today. It's a Monday, so that's where we're at. A lot of good football went on this weekend. Not sure how our picks will look when we get to Friday. Some ups, some downs, but overall not terrible, I think.
Got my Cardinals shirt on, 8 straight wins, pushing for that second wild card.
All right, let's get into the college recaps here, roll through them. Dude, both Friday games were fantastic. Louisville beats UCF 42-35, and this one was at Louisville.
The ending was everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, that was just ridiculous. I was excited, and then I was distraught. For anyone who didn't watch, Malik Cunningham for Louisville threw a pick, a deflection, interception to UCF, gave them the ball back to go down and win the game, tied at 35. And then the next play, Dylan Gabriel threw a tipped interception as well, but that one got returned to the house by Jalen Alderman there at the bottom of the screen, 66 yards for the touchdown. That ended up being the game winner. So, yeah, crazy game.
Entertaining.
Lot of Dylan Gabriel actually didn't really have as big of stats as he usually does. I thought the Louisville defense did a decent job. I mean, they were getting scored on, but holding him to 184 yards, it was pretty good for them. All right. Good win for Louisville, though. Had a 100-yard receiver, Marshawn Ford, the tight end for them, for the Cardinals. And Braden Smith also throwing a touchdown. We actually had two receiver touchdowns in this one. Braden Smith for the Cardinals, and for the Golden Knights, it was Ryan O'Keefe right there throwing a 20-yard touchdown to Dylan Gabriel, who scored three different ways in this one.
We'll talk about Gabriel later.
Yeah. So Louisville covered +7 over 68. Knew there was going to be a lot of points. The other Friday game, while not as exciting, I thought was still a good game. The Fighting Dave Muey's got the win. That's what we wanted. Terps in Champaign getting the win, 20-17 over the Illinois Illini. But yeah, I told you, he's my boy. Talia is my guy. He played outstanding and didn't turn the ball over, unlike Brandon Peters did. Tayon Fleet Davis did turn the ball over once for Maryland, but otherwise it was a pretty clean game for the Terps, and they eked it out for their first Big Ten win on the season, and first time 3-0 in quite some time.
Yeah, 3-0. I'm with you there. Quarterback play was really the difference in the ball game, and Illinois is one of those record doesn't look good, but they've had some tough games. They've played some, people close and just not getting over the hump.
Well, they also lost to UTSA in one of those three, which we know. We love UTSA, our guy Sincere McCormick out there in San Antonio. But the craziest play in this one was Casey Washington, receiver for Illinois. I don't recall who the guy was that fumbled the ball for Illinois, but one of their running backs, I believe it might have been McCrary, got stripped because he was holding the ball in the right hand going down the left sideline, which you're not supposed to do. Inside arm, got to carry that on the outside. So if it fumbles, it goes out of bounds. But carried it on the inside, got stripped by Maryland defense. right there. There's not that many Maryland defenders around. Casey Washington is right there, picks the ball up, runs it 30 yards for a touchdown, which is weird because he got 30 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown accounted for that instead of a 30-yard fumble return touchdown.
Pretty funny.
So, yeah, it looks really weird on the stats because he has 0 carries for 30 yards and a touchdown on the stat sheet. So, which is always fun. A lot of sacks in this one, specifically by the Maryland defense. You see 3 different guys had 2 sacks for them. So, great night for the Terrapin defense there as well. Illinois did cover, though, +7 and under 62. Let's go to Saturday's games. Number 3, Oklahoma, undefeated, beating Nebraska 23-16. I know you want to talk about Scott Frost now, Mark.
Well, it wasn't as ugly as I thought. I thought they were going to get beat down, so I think that's why he didn't get fired. But, man, there's no way he stays there right after this year. I just can't see it.
Yeah, and I think there's major question marks for Oklahoma right now. I mean, they haven't, besides their second game against Western Carolina, an FCS team, 76-0 win. Their other 2 games against Tulane and Nebraska at home in Norman have been 1-score games. That is not good when you're the number 3 team in the country, and they actually moved down a spot this week to number 4. But there's going to be an interesting decision this week. They play again at home, but they start their Big 12 conference schedule against West Virginia. So we'll have to see. West Virginia's, I don't know if they're better than Tulane. I would think they are, considering what they did. We'll see what they did in a couple of seconds. But, yeah, I think there's legitimate concerns that Oklahoma has a lot more problems than a 3-0 record looks like, especially at the quarterback position. Granted, Spencer Rattler didn't turn the ball over in this one, but I think they need some offense, more offense than what they've been getting specifically from him. But the defense played pretty well, decently anyways. Nick Benito, star pass rusher, 2 sacks on the day there, 3 tackles for loss, quarterback hurt. Nebraska cover +22.5, under 63. Number 7, Texas A&M shutting out New Mexico 34-0, 3-0 now. Zach Calzada got his first start for the Aggies. Pretty good, other than the interception, but it was a nice game for him. Knew they were going to win. New Mexico's not good, so roll on.
Those are the numbers that we kind of expected from Spiller. Obviously not a big competition like an SEC team, but these are the numbers we thought, he would have maybe week 1, week 2.
Yeah, for sure. The chain not getting that great of not having that great of a day there, but like you said, Spiller did it. Damon Demas also with a 100-yard and a touchdown. And that's supposed to be Moose Muhammad, not Moss, which I was questioning. I didn't look it up. I was questioning whether that is Moosen's son. Moosen.
That was my first thought.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll go with Michael Clemens on defense. 1.5 sack, 1.5 tackles for loss, and 3 QB hurries. I keep looking to the right for my sheet, but I had printer issues right before the show, and I couldn't get it printed off, so I'm looking off my phone. A&M did cover, though. They got it, -30. They did, and under 50. All right, this was a great game. I was watching this one. Number 8, Cincinnati stays undefeated, 38-24 over Indiana. This one was in Bloomington. Michael Penix, 3 interceptions, but that really didn't deter Indiana's day. They were leading for most of the day.
Yeah.
Because Cincinnati again struggled, especially in the first half, but got it going after Trey Tucker's 99-yard kick return touchdown. I think that's really what sparked it. They also had a 4th down red zone stop as well. And Ritter got going, stayed going, and threw 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to take the win by 14.
Yeah, I mean, even on the Instagram Live, I said something about Penix Jr. because at our tailgate, we have one TV. I think I decided we need to have more than one TV. And we watched pretty much the first half and then somebody flipped over to the Oklahoma game because it wasn't a blowout and they were kind of more interested in that. And I wanted to watch this. And so Penix, to me, looked decent in the second half from the plays that I saw when I wasn't chasing my kids around when they were running wild. I saw him throw a few nice balls. I did see the nice 4th down red zone stop for Cincinnati. And I think for me, like you said it, when I was looking at it and kind of following it live, the 99-yard kickoff return was a big momentum swing. Kind of everything. And I think that's what intrigues me about Cincinnati is look at Clemson and Oklahoma. They're not playing the way that most people think they would. Cincinnati finds ways to win besides just one person or one element, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think the first 2 games, Desmond Ritter played very well. This one, he didn't. The running game sort of picked him up, but I think it was more the defense and, like we've said multiple times, the special teams touchdown as well. But really, I mean, the defense was spectacular, kept him in the game quite a few times, and allowed them to find themselves on offense in a hostile environment, and which was said many times throughout all of the games on Saturday. Whenever a favorite was down, the announcers would always go to, well, they haven't been in this type of environment in 2 years. So
yeah.
It is what it is, which we've seen that affect both college and NFL games this season so far. Great game by wide receiver DJ Matthews Jr. for Indiana, over 100 yards. And also Peyton Hendershot was really a big factor, tight end there for the Hoosiers. I don't know. Who you want to go with defensively?
I mean, I do like Arquon Bush, 3 tackles, 2 solo, 2 pass deflections, and an interception. I think he was he the one in the red zone?
I don't remember if it was him or Pace.
Well, I mean, you can't go wrong with Pace. Look at 10 tackles, 9 solo tackles, awesome interception.
Yep, 90% solo tackles. Cincinnati covered -4 over 50. Now, here's what I was talking about earlier. West Virginia upsetting number 15 Virginia Tech in Morgantown, 27-21. I was praying. Braxton Burmeister, the Hokies got a late pick. They had a chance inside the 10-yard line, I believe it was. 4th and goal, couldn't get it done. But yeah, the West Virginia defense and running game was amazing in this one. I mean, Letty Brown, he opened the game with an 80-yard touchdown run or 75, whatever it was. But
we talked about him Friday.
yeah, I mean, he was spectacular. I didn't think Jared Dagey really did that much other than the two touchdowns. Because like I said, he did throw that interception late to really give Virginia Tech a chance to win the game. But yeah, defense and running game for West Virginia is really what did it in this one, and held Braxton Burmeister and the Hokie offense down.
100%. I mean, you look at the last four stats on the screen, it's West Virginia, West Virginia, West Virginia. Yeah, plenty of sacks there, so they spent time in the backfield, which I think, led to Braxton not having, in my opinion, a great completion. I think maybe if he goes 24 of 31, 25 of 31, they win the ball game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They just lived in the backfield, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jared Bartlett, what a day. 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and a QB hurry to go along with 5 tackles and 3 of them being solos. West Virginia covered -2. They were the favorites, under 50. Number 16, Coastal Carolina, staying undefeated in a close one, 28-25 at Buffalo. Yeah, I was disappointed. I thought they would cover the 14, really. I did not think Buffalo would be able to keep pace with them, for one, nor did I think the Buffalo defense would be able to stop them as many times as they did.
I saw something in Coastal Carolina. Now, I'm not taking anything away from them, if that makes sense. But I saw a Kansas team that, isn't the toughest. I think Buffalo, his old team would give Kansas a run for money. But I felt like Kansas was able to score on Coastal Carolina a little bit too much than I thought they were. And I never thought Coastal was not going to win this game. But I'm not – I guess what I'm trying to say, not go any longer, is Coastal any better than they were last year?
I think they're worse. I mean, they lost a couple of guys to the NFL and graduation, specifically the one that I'm thinking of defensively, Teron Jackson, playing for the Eagles right now. On defense, was a monster for them in their so-called Black Swarm defense. And I don't know if that's why they've been in the close games with Buffalo and Kansas, but Grayson McCall doesn't look like he did last year.
Last year's Grayson McCall.
Especially the interception that he threw was terrible. It was right to the defender, and I think rightfully so. I don't know if he was yelling at Jamie Chadwell or not. He was yelling. He came off the field yelling at someone after that pick, saying, "Run the damn ball," because that's what he wanted to do inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah, that was kind of an intriguing. I think and they are ranked, so maybe they should get more publicity. But if that was like JT Daniels coming off the field talking to Kirby, I think that would have been more mainstream ESPN news. You got a little bit of publicity, but that I did see that and thought about that. And they're going to have to play Liberty. Don't they have to play Louisiana as well?
Oh yeah, they got tough games coming. App State's on the schedule.
I don't see a perfect season, in my opinion.
Yeah, they got App State, Troy. Those are really the two hardest ones. I guess he could throw Arkansas State in there as well. That's a 3-game stretch at Arkansas State, at Appalachian State, and hosting Troy.
Do they play Liberty?
No, they don't.
Okay. I mean, they could. That schedule may be a little bit easier than last year, but I just don't think they're as strong as last year.
Yeah, I don't see them losing anything except possibly when they go to App State, especially because that game at Appalachian State is a Wednesday night game.
Ooh, man.
Yeah, don't like that. But it's like Thursday at Arkansas State, Wednesday at App State, and then Thursday against Troy. So, all right. Shamari Jones, though, for the Chants, almost 150 yards rushing to help them out. Not a great day for Kevin Marks on the ground for the Bulls. And then the highly likely combo, though, they both scored in this one, which I was happy to see. I was very happy to see Isaiah Likely contribute for the first time, really, that I've noticed him contributing this season. Defensively, I go with Taylor Riggins for the Bulls. 7 tackles, all of them being solos, 2 sacks, and 3 tackles for loss. Buffalo covered plus 14, under 58. Love it. Michigan State Sparty rolling over number 24 Miami at Miami. Stays undefeated. They are now ranked. De'Aaron King did put up numbers, but he turned it over 4 times. So
my thing is, if you have to throw 59 times, is Miami going to win a lot of ball games? And maybe that's not even a De'Aaron King thing. That's just, unless you have a Heisman Trophy candidate back there, don't throw 59 times. That's Tom Brady-esque numbers, or Kurt Warner when he was with the Rams his last year.
Yeah, no. Derek King, there is no reason why he should be throwing even over 35 times in a game. That's not the type of game Derek King can play. I told you, I keep telling people Derek King sucks. He's not that great. Especially, I think he came back too early from his ACL injury, being that he got injured literally in the bowl game in January. Less than 9 months recovery from that to play in week 1. And 4 turnovers in this one. Sparty was living in the backfield. And Peyton Thorne continues to impress along with Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is a stud.
That is what I was going to say. Kenneth Walker put up deep, Henry numbers like he was running for the Titans. I mean, 27 carries is a workload, 172 yards, 6.4 average is great. 3 receptions, 17 yards, and a touchdown. And Mel Tucker is a defensive genius in my opinion.
Yeah. And like I said, Peyton Thorne, while his completion percentage isn't great, he threw 4 touchdowns. That's all that matters, that you score points. So one bright spot, I mean, we already said Derek King threw it 59 times, but Charleston Rambo caught 12 of his 38 completions for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He's been on a few of the slides, and I also will want to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Bubba Bolden's been on 2 of our slides as a pretty good tackler, as a safety, 10 tackles, 8 solo, 1 tackle for loss. And we know Miami's secondary history. Maybe he plays on Sunday one day.
Yeah, he will. Off the top of my head, I don't have like a top 5 safety list. I'm not even sure what.
I think he's top 10 at least, maybe top 5.
I'm not sure what year he is, but I'm pretty sure he is in the top 5 conversation at the safety position. So, I'll go Drew Beasley, though, for Michigan State. 5 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, and 2 tackles for loss. Sparty cover +7, under 58. Barely. All right, their cross-state counterparts, number 25, Michigan, staying undefeated as well, destroying Northern Illinois 63-10. McNamara didn't have to do much. Threw a long touchdown pass, ran one in on a QB sneak early, but really it was the running game. I mean, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, Hassan Haskins, all having great days.
They ran all over. I mean, you look at it, Michigan doesn't even have like eye-popping defensive numbers, and it's because they just got out in open field and ran. Yeah. Cornelius Johnson, 3 receptions, 117 yards, touchdown. That's almost a 40-yard average.
Yeah, I believe that was the long touchdown early. In the second quarter, 87 yards from Cade McNamara there. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is what Harbaugh has been wanting to do the entire time he's been there. And now I think he has a quarterback that is capable of passing when they need to, but they're not going to rely on that because they're going to be running the ball the majority of the game, and that's how they want to win. Whether they can do that against Big Ten opponents, specifically Penn State, who I don't even think it's a question. Penn State has the best defense in the Big Ten. People will say Wisconsin, but Penn State beat Wisconsin's defense. So, yeah, I think Penn State has the best defense, and they're gonna have to play Michigan because they're in the same division. So we'll have to see if they can run on Penn State's defense, which I think that actually is the weakest part of Penn State's defense is against the run. But
Penn State is a really good defense, and I want to save my opinion for them when we get there.
Yeah, not a lot defensively. Nakai Hill-Green for Michigan, 3 tackles, 2 solos, and a tackle for loss. Michigan covered minus 27.5 and over 55 by themselves. Kansas State rolling Nevada 38-17, stay 3-0 for the Cats.
Look.
Oh, man. I was sad, dude. Carson Strong finally got a loss this year. And Will Howard, I mean, he didn't have to do much, but I told you, if KSU was going to win, it was going to be Deuce Vaughn, and he did it.
Just took the one thing I was going to say about this game. I'm sad because I did go Nevada, and I had a gut feeling that Kansas State was going to be tough at home. They always are. And I just went off the quarterback injury. We know Skylar Thompson was like the 4th-year senior because of his injuries. But Deuce Vaughn, we both said it. I did say it as well on Friday that he would have to have a big game. But what really surprised me, the key point of this game, was Will Howard's 12 carries and 56 yards for 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that coming. I figured, and maybe that was Nevada saying, beat us through the air, and that's why he ran. But I'm sad about this game because it's a loss, in the pick'em column.
Yeah, I still love Nevada. I still like their chances at the Mountain West. Granted, there's a couple of teams now that after 3 weeks I'm scared about with in that conference. But Romeo Doubs had a great day, catching almost half of Carson Strong's yardage. Anyways, 7 for 121 there. And yeah, I mean, Carson Strong struggled. KSU had a lot of pressure on him most of the day. And Daniel Green specifically, 9 tackles, all of them being solos, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, and a QB hurry.
I'll tell you this, moving forward, this is Kansas State just never seems to be that name that you think of as a Big 12 killer. But we all know Bill Snyder was a great coach there for years. You know, they didn't win any national championships. But this is the type of team that can knock off Oklahoma. Besides in Iowa State or you know, somewhat like a Texas in the rivalry. But when they link up, if they're on the schedule, I don't have the schedule in front of me.
They are.
This is that Oklahoma could really have some issues with.
It's in 2 weeks, and it's in Manhattan.
Whoa. I'm telling you, mark my words.
We'll see if Mark backs up and picks them in 2 weeks.
Reggie Stubblefield, 3 tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hurry. I like it.
All right, KSU covered +1.5 over 51 by 2. Number 12, Notre Dame, staying undefeated, 27-13 win over Purdue. Jack Cohn looked like crap. 50%, lot of decent amount of yards off 15 completions, did score twice, didn't turn the ball over, but yeah, not it probably his worst performance out of the 3 games he's played for the Irish. So
Purdue's first loss, I would use a phrase, not sexy, but Notre Dame got the job done, and I always talk about that being a sign of a tough team. And finally, we saw Williams, even though he didn't get the 100-yard mark, but it still was 7.6 average. And then he got, 2 catches and accounted for 2 scores. And that, to me, was what we talked about Friday. Get into the rhythm that was what it was last year. And he was the difference in this game when the quarterback play wasn't good.
Yeah, I was very happy with Kyron Williams finally showing some life. Avery Davis also 120 of the 223 from Jack Cohn. I think that was on a long touchdown. I'm not sure. I don't have the game up with me, but yeah, they continue to find ways, and an intriguing game this weekend at Soldier Field against Wisconsin. That is going to be one of the toughest ones to pick.
Yeah,
we'll see how we pick that one on Friday, but Jack Cohn's going to have more than 50% completion to win against Wisconsin's defense. I'm just going to say that.
Tags, we established that Friday. Is it Tag's cousin, or I think we said it was his brother-in-law? No, it's his. Another nice game, though.
Yes. MTA, Myron Tagovailoa Amosa, 5 tackles, 2 solos, half a sack, 1.5 tackles lost, and 2 QB hurries. Kyle Hamilton also, another interception for the All-American safety. I mean, the man's a beast.
He is. He's good. He's going to be playing on Sundays for a while.
Notre Dame covered -7.5 under 58. Number 1, Alabama getting it done, 31-29 over number 11, Florida in the swamp. Was very surprised with Florida, specifically Emory Jones.
All I have to say about this game is Alabama won, didn't think it would be this close at all, and it was both the quarterback play for me for 2 separate reasons. Emory Jones is one athletic person, and what I would have to say about Bryce Young, he's freshman, right?
No, I think he's a sophomore.
Sophomore, but first time starting big games. The way that he gets the ball out of his hands is very, what's a good word? Intriguing, exciting, something that scouts should look at. There's a couple times in this game he stood in the pocket facing down much bigger linemen, and where people, I think, would have tucked or tried to go side to side. He waited, let it fly, hit the open man, one in particular right for a touchdown, and took the hit. And just being able to stand in the pocket, poise, and the arm angle, quick release, flick of the wrist, the ball's traveling 30 yards. He's got some skill, I guess is the best way to say it.
I agree. Like I said, I was surprised with Emory Jones, how he and the rest of the Florida running game was really established in this game. Malik Davis, Damian Pierce, and Emory Jones chipping in 77 yards as well. They were able to run the ball against a pretty good Alabama front seven, especially with the linebackers they have, and Will Anderson and a couple of other guys there. But
as much as I love Georgia, I think this Georgia-Florida game is shaping up to be a better matchup than what people think.
yeah, not a lot of great receiving performances. Brian Robinson with 78 yards on the there. Defensively, I'm going with Brenton Cox Jr. for Florida. 4 tackles, 1 solo, sack, tackle floss, pass deflection, and a QB hurry. Love when you fill up the stat sheet in the special stats, not just tackles. Florida covered. Plus 14 and over under 60 pushes. There was actually, it was weird, dude. There was like 3 pushes on the over-unders this week. It was weird. All right, number 5, Iowa, undefeated, 30-7 win over Kent State. Knew this one was coming. And yeah, I mean, Goodson, again, I mean, he just destroyed the Golden Flash defensive line all day.
Iowa is just a tough team. I don't want to use expressions that are outdated, but they are a bunch of, it looks like farm-raised boys that want to put their fingers in the dirt and hit somebody, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, they are just nasty. And offensively, like I said, if they're gonna keep winning, I still don't like Spencer Petras. He's one of the quarterbacks I don't believe in, but he's played decently enough, doesn't turn the ball over, and they run the ball, which we know, Kirk Ferentz, Iowa, it's what they do. They've had running backs for days. They have all kinds of guys. They're a low-key school. If you on the RBU rankings, I would actually put Iowa, in there somewhere in the top 10. I think the bottom of the top 10. I think Iowa running backs are actually pretty decent. And I love Tyler Goodson. He's pretty much my guy from Iowa. When I look at their team.
Yeah, I think he could win running back of the year. In my opinion, he definitely has a shot.
Yeah, Doak Walker Award. Keyshawn Abram for Kent State, though, he caught pretty much 3/4 of Dustin Crumb's 185 passing yards. He had 6 receptions, 138 yards, and a touchdown. Their lone score. I want to go Zach Van Valkenburg for Iowa, but I'm going to go Jack Campbell instead because he was the man that had the fumble recovery returned for a touchdown against Iowa State last week. And now he returns for 11 tackles, 3 of them being solos, half a sack, and tackle for loss. Iowa covered minus 22.5 by a half a point. And then the under 56. Number 9, Ohio State beating Tulsa 41-21. And the score is not indicative of how the game went. This one was close. It was at the end of with around 12 minutes to go in the game, it was 27-20. Tulsa within one score. And then Ohio State scored with about 3 minutes to go to take a 2-score lead, and then a pick six got the 3-score lead with about 2 minutes to go. So what is Ohio State? Like,
Ohio State for me right now is just grouped in. There's 3 or 4 teams. There's like 3 glaring teams. Them, Clemson, Oklahoma, that you're just like, okay, we know that you can out-talent people, right? But it's almost a transition year. Besides Chris Olave, and he's not throwing the ball, and he's not even on here today. You know, what's under center at Clemson and what's going on at Oklahoma. I think these are the hardest teams, in my opinion, to pick because they are talented, but I think that they're upset prime at any time of the week.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you already mentioned the other couple of teams. Ohio State, I was kind of surprised they didn't lose the game, even though it was at home. But again, their defense is terrible. They gave up 428 yards to Davis Brin. They did pick him off twice and return one for a touchdown. But, I mean, 428 yards to an 0-2 Tulsa team through the air. They were lucky to win, in my mind.
I'm telling you this right now. This is one of the worst picks, and I made some bad picks in my life. You got to own it up. I thought coming off a national championship appearance, having Chris Olave back, I know you lost people, but I thought you could get your defense better, that it would be a good pick for a college repeat. I'm telling you guys right now, they're not making the college football playoff. Penn State's defense will ensure that they barely score when they play them. I'm telling you that right now.
One thing that I did see that a lot of people kept talking about, TreVeyon Henderson, the freshman running back. I mean, monster game, 277, 3 touchdowns.
That's huge.
That's what people have been saying to do. I mean, CJ Stroud is not living up to what Ohio State quarterbacks have been known to be the past 5 or 6 years. And now they have a guy in Henderson that can really tote the rock and sustain through multiple big workloads like this game here. So defensively, I'll go with the pick 6 guy, Cameron Martinez, 2 tackles, a solo, 3 pass deflections, and the 61-yard pick 6 of Davis Brin. Tulsa covered plus 24.5 and over under 61 pushed. Number 6, Clemson winning at this was in Clemson. 14-8 over Georgia Tech. Again, this was one of the other teams you mentioned, Mark. There's a long weather delay with 32 seconds to go in the second quarter.
That was Yep.
And Tech had a chance to win the game or to tie it. They were down 14-6 on the goal line. Couldn't get it on 4th down. Then they got a safety. So it made it a 6-point game. Get the ball back, and they couldn't get down. There wasn't enough time at that point. to get down and score a touchdown. So
I think too often also everyone in the world, that includes us and people on ESPN networks, often focus about like, oh my gosh, this is Clemson. Oh my gosh, they're a powerhouse. Well, you also have Georgia Tech coaches. It's a new coaching staff. And people are trying to win ball games too. So I think some credit needs to go to other teams that are making these games close, as in they're coaching too and they're making their program better. But this is definitely just not. I mean, when you play, it's a conference opponent, one, so let's think of that. It should be a tougher game. So you still did keep someone to 8 points. But what is this Clemson offense? And for me, maybe it's a lot of DJ. For me, it's a little bit more. I think they lost a lot of receivers as well. And Travis Etienne was a big part of the offense, and he helped him look really good against Notre Dame when Trevor Lawrence was out. Because if you can go for 400-yard passing against Notre Dame, I mean, you do have some skill, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, they did lose guys, but they got back Justin Ross, who had a great 2019 season before his neck injury, before the 2020 season. And Will Shipley was regarded, I don't know if he's a 5 or he's definitely a 4-star at the very least.
5-star, yeah.
And he was regarded to be the next guy. He was supposed to be just as good as Travis Etienne. Now, 88 yards, 4.2 per clip is pretty decent. He also scored twice. But he was the guy that got tackled in the end zone for a safety. I think DJ Uiagalelei is not doing it. Part of it is also the offensive line sucks.
Well, that's the big thing that you're right. You hit that. The offensive line is totally different, because I don't think Dabo would be, afraid of switching quarterbacks. We've seen him do it.
Yeah, I mean, they have what? How many 5-star quarterbacks behind him? So yeah, I don't know.
They're going to get tested in ACC. I'm not so sure they don't have a second loss in the conference this year as their second loss. I thought maybe they would run through the ACC after losing to Georgia. I'm not sure about that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is they don't play necessarily
any tough teams.
What we would think as being tough teams. I mean, there are a bunch of teams on their schedule though that are.
They got to go to Raleigh
level, I think,
or they got to go to Raleigh Saturday.
Yeah, they have at NC State. I think there's about 4 games in a row though for them that are going to be tough. They got to go to the Dome to play Syracuse. They got to go to Heinz Field to play Pitt. And then they come home to play Florida State, who we've seen be tough, but we've also seen Florida State lose to Jacksonville State. And then they have to go to Louisville. So
I'm not so sure they can score with some of these teams. I think they're
especially Louisville. I would circle though October 15th at Syracuse. You know why?
It's in the Dome. It's in the Dome.
Not just because it's in the Dome. It's in the Dome on a Friday night.
Whoa! And they struggled with Syracuse when they had Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, so a Friday night game at Syracuse, I think. Better be watching that one. Defensively, I'm going to go with Alex's guy, James Skalski, 9 tackles, 4 solos, pass selection, and 3 QB hurries. Tech did cover easily, plus 27.5, and under 53 is way under. Number 20, Arkansas. The Hogs staying undefeated, rolling over Georgia Southern 45-10. KJ Jefferson, great game. 366, 3 touchdowns. Not the completion percentage you want, but that's fine when you're scoring 3 TDs and 366 and not turning the ball over. So I don't know. I haven't actually watched an Arkansas game this year yet. I got to see when I want to watch them or not.
Arkansas is doing exactly what you would call like a coach's identity. So Sam Pittman was our offensive lineman coach. He was recruited all those guys. They just are pushing people in the trenches on both sides of the ball, if that makes sense right now. There's nothing pretty about their games. They don't reel off like these spectacular plays. They want to beat you in the trenches, and it's his second year, and he's going to recruit more athletes to get, more exciting football on the edges. And so when I watch them, I just go, man, it's going to be a long night for your offensive lineman and your defensive lineman.
Yeah, I don't think any other stats. I mean, Traylon Burks, really good game for him. 3 receptions, 127 yards, and a touchdown. Most of that coming off of the $91-yard touchdown catch he had. So good game for him. It was weird though, because not a lot of other guys had big receiving performances. With your quarterback throwing 366 yards, you would think another guy would maybe get closer to 100 yards, but that wasn't the case. He spread it around off of his 13 completions. But yeah, defensively, Trey Williams for Arkansas, 4 tackles, 1 solo, 1.5 sacks, and 2 tackles for loss. Arkansas covered -23 over 53 by 2. Very exciting game, dude. I was so happy the Tigers pulled this one out. 31-29 Memphis over Mississippi State. Memphis remains undefeated. Yeah, dude. I mean, Will Rogers, 67 attempts and 50 completions. He was money all day. But it was fine because the Memphis has one guy named Calvin Austin III that can score anytime he touches the ball. So.
Yeah, it's amazing that he didn't throw an interception in almost 70 attempts. And I need to find out if his dad named him after Will Rogers, because that would be kind of funny if his dad's a country guy. But you said it. Calvin Austin III, just anytime he touches it, you better have people all around him.
Yeah, and the 94-yard punt return touchdown, kind of misleading because it was a weird play that when I watched it, I agree with Mississippi State fans for one, and probably a lot of the general public that said, well, it looked like the ball was downed because right before he picked it up, the ref started waving his arms to stop the clock for a downed punt. And as he was doing that, Calvin Austin just runs into the Mississippi State crowd of players around the ball and picks it up and takes it 94 yards to the house. Really weird play, but it got the job done and it stood. So
yeah, it was unique.
Great game by Mekhi Polk for the Bulldogs. 11 receptions, 136 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon Thomas on the ground again continues to have solid performances day in and day out. That 3 though, they're 3 for Memphis are going to take them places, and quite possibly too an American. I mean, they got to face Cincinnati eventually, I don't, because the American did away with division, so it's the best two teams, and I really do think Memphis has a great shot, especially with the Dylan Gabriel news, which we'll say about here in a bit. But I do think Memphis has a great shot at playing Cincinnati in the American Conference Championship, with the triple threat of Seth Hennigan at quarterback, Brandon Thomas at running back, and Calvin Austin at wide receiver. So, and defensively, I'm going to go Sanchez Blake Jr., 12 tackles, 7 of them solo, pass selection, fumble recovery, and a touchdown. Took that fumble.
It is a huge game.
49 yards. Memphis covered +3, under 64. Go Dogs!
Go Dogs!
Number 2, Georgia rolling South Carolina 40-13 to stay undefeated. JT Daniels, what a comeback performance for him after missing the UAB game last week. Did throw an interception, but that's fine. Over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns will make up for it mightily. So,
yeah, a lot of takeaways from Archie Manning, little Archie being there, and the crowd just loving it and hyping him up.
It's Arch
Manning, but I call him little Archie. To JT Daniels coming back, I think Burton is doing a great job getting out behind defenses. The one takeaway that I think is a negative for me in this game, I know that you only gave up 13 points to your conference opponent rival, but there were too many times that South Carolina, in my opinion, which doesn't have the greatest quarterback play, they got behind our defense for a few throws. I would like for us not to give up moving forward. But we got a junkyard defense, guys. And if people haven't seen Jordan Davis, you all need to watch him. And I loved Shane Beamer's post-game news conference. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I liked the spreading around of the touches in the backfield. Kendall Milton, surprisingly, with the lead in rushing in this game for the Dogs. But again, Zamir White has not been what I expected. I would like for Zamir to take it a little bit, and the running game as a whole to take some pressure off of JT Daniels, which it did in this game. 3 backs over 50 yards. James Cook again scoring twice. I really think he is our key receiving back. So Zeb Nolan got hurt in this game. Luke Doty came in, did a decent job, got the Gamecocks to cover the spread with their late touchdown. So unfortunate for the Dog average for their defensive points average per game, giving up 13 in this one. So
small tidbit that I think is cool. Zeb Nolan's dad is the head coach at Oconee County High School here in Watkinsville, Georgia. I didn't put them 2 and 2 together because I know his dad, great guy. Quarterback coach for him is also Brad Johnson, Super Bowl winning coach. But I didn't realize that was his son. So very cool.
Yeah. I asked Nate if he knew Oconee County, and he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, figured. Great receiving day for Josh Vann for South Carolina, 3 receptions, 120 yards, and one of their touchdown there. And yeah, I did not know. I had never heard of Adonai Mitchell. I don't know if that's how you say his name.
I haven't either.
Until this game, where he was just getting behind people constantly. So defensively, who else? Nolan Smith, 8 tackles, 5 solos, 1.5 sacks, and 1.5 tackles for loss. Jalen Foster as well for Carolina with 2 interceptions, one off JT Daniels. And the one pass that Stetson Bennett threw, he threw it right to the freaking defense.
I mean, that was right to it. Some of that, though, is his height. He's only a couple inches taller than you and I.
All right. South Carolina, like I said, covered plus 31.5, over 48. Number 4, Oregon, not going to spend too much time on this game. Destroying Stony Brook 48-7, 3-0 Oregon. They moved up 1 spot to number 3 over Oklahoma this week. Anthony Brown not having to do much in this one. The ground game, the defense, Ducks had it all in this game. Starters were out relatively early. Go ahead.
Yeah, that starters were out early. Oregon is a contender if they don't have any hiccups.
This is true, and the Pac-12 overall is not looking that great right now. Defensively, I'll go with Verone McKinley the third, 3 tackles, 2 solos, and 2 picks. Stony Brook did cover, though. They did cover because they scored once. Plus 42, they covered by 1 point. And the over-under in this one, 55, it pushed because Oregon missed an extra point. All righty, the game of the day, Saturday. The whiteout in Happy Valley got Penn State over 500 in their whiteout games to 7-6. Number 10 Penn State taking down number 22 Auburn 28-20. Sean Clifford, I mean, efficiency. 87.5%, 282 touchdowns. And Penn State defense, man.
Yeah, I'm going to say it right here, right now. We already know that the poll rankings are out. Penn State's beat 2 ranked teams if people don't know that. And so, I'm not putting them number 1. Could they be 2A? I think they could be right with Georgia because their defense is that good. So, if I was making a poll, I think it still would go Alabama. Someone's got to knock them off until, they knock them off. Georgia, Penn State, those are my top 3 teams. Oregon would probably be right there, and Oklahoma after that. And for me, it's exactly what you said. I believe in this defense. I watched that entirety of the Wisconsin game and was just blown away with the defense, and they haven't let me down yet. And I was waiting for Sean Clifford to have one of these games, and he did. I still would like him not to have a turnover, and with 28 completions, a little bit more yards. But this is a good team. It's hard place to play, and Auburn was putting up 60 points, and I don't care if it was against high school of young boys. They're still putting up 60 points.
It was Akron and Alabama State.
So, I'm a believer in Penn State.
The one thing, like I was kind of foreshadowing earlier, I do think the way teams can beat Penn State's defense is by running the ball. Now, you have to have a very good back to run the ball against the defense because of how their linebackers play, Ellis Brooks, Brandon Smith. And Auburn has that type of running back in Tank Bigsby. That's why he got 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, because he is that good of a back to be able to run against those linebackers.
He is young, and he is good, and he's got enough speed to be good on Sundays.
But where Auburn lost this game was, one, the quarterback play. Bo Nix was terrible. And also, they had, some questionable decisions. They didn't go for it a couple times in 4th and short situations that I know Nate was getting mad at. I
will say this, not to interrupt you. So someone told me this at the tailgate, another coach, and he's coached football and basketball at the high school level. And I said something about the first time I saw Bo Nix, like I was really excited. I was like, this kid is tough as nails. He looks like he's going to be the next generation of a good quarterback there. And he told me Saturday, he goes, look, I'm not disagreeing like with your first analysis, but Bo Nix is a good football player, not necessarily a good quarterback.
Mm.
He's somebody that it's almost like pickup basketball. Like, hey, I want him on my 7-on-7 flag football team. Or you almost want him to go to a fight in an alley with you because if he gets punched in the face 9 times, he's going to get up 50 times. And I think I'm starting to believe that he's a good football player, but maybe when they move on from him, or I don't know who they have on the roster, could they get better success against top-tier teams? Because you got a great running back in Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what Brian Harson's first recruiting class comes out like this upcoming cycle. But, yeah, continue. If Bo Nix could ever figure out how to play on the road,
yeah,
Auburn could be a team. But he cannot. He has not showed that he can consistently play well while away from Auburn.
Linebacker University. Read off the stat. Penn State.
Yes, sir. Brandon Smith, 10 tackles, 6 of them solos, tackle for loss, pass deflection, and a quarterback hurry. Also, just want to mention the tight end. Dude, Brenton Strange had a great game. I called his touchdown on the Insta Live. I was like, dude, just wait. It's going to be a touchdown to a tight end here. Sean Clifford right in the flat to Brenton Strange off of play action. Great times. And Arnold Ebikidi has been a godsend from Temple as a transfer. I mean, what a pick from James Franklin coming into Temple and getting him out of there. So
another safety before we go. Smoke Monday. Not only is it just kind of a unique name, 8 tackles, 6 solo, 2 tackles for loss. Auburn safety, he's got to be on some draft boards as well.
Penn State covered -4, under 53. Very happy about this game as well. Just like I was with the Memphis win. Utah State beating Air Force 49-45, 3-0 Aggies. 2-quarterback system in this one. I don't know if Logan Bonner got hurt or not. I have no idea. I wasn't paying too much attention to this game because this was going on while the Penn State game and Georgia games were going on as well. But Logan Bonner, it doesn't matter which quarterback played. They both played very well. Logan Bonner, Andrew Peasley combining for 5 total passing touchdowns, over 400 yards of passing, and just 1 turnover for Logan Bonner.
All I have to say is good, fun game. Besides, I came out on the losing effort as well as Chris because we went with military schools. So don't hate us for that. But 45 points for Air Force in any game is really good against in my opinion, the Utah State team that is good. And how many times do you see an Air Force wide receiver over 100 yards? Who also had 7 carries for 32 yards. So I know that they lost, but Micah Davis had a game, guys.
Yeah. And Zeke Daniels threw it 12 times as well, getting 95 yards on the ground, 2 combined touchdowns. And that's a guy I really like from Air Force. Their quarterback, Zeke Daniels, is electric, knows how to run the offense. Emmanuel Michel, 133 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. 1 yard behind him for Utah State, Calvin Tyler, 19 carries, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then another 100-yard rusher. Another guy I really like from Air Force, the running back Brad Roberts, 21 carries, 113. So a lot of rushing stats, a lot of stats overall.
This reminded me of 2 powerhouse high school football teams from the South, Midwest, or West Coast going at it. I enjoyed it. What I would say is, what is Utah State's schedule moving forward? Do you have it on there, or do you have to look it up on your phone?
I can get it relatively quickly, but
I think they have a chance. You know, we wanted a short show, so I'm not trying to prolong.
they have next two games are, yeah, no. They're both at home, which gives them a good shot, but Boise State and BYU.
Ooh, oof. Boise State has took some losses though, but we'll see.
The thing about the Boise State game, though, that would be a 10 a.m. local kickoff.
Oh man,
for Mountain Time. So, yeah. And then they also have probably their only hard game after those two would probably be back-to-back weeks in November. Their third to last and second to last games. They go to San Jose State and they host Wyoming.
Do you think they can go undefeated? Can they beat these teams with their quarterback play?
No. Not BYU. They might be able to beat Boise State. I think BYU is better than Boise State. So,
yeah.
200-yard performances through the air for the Aggies. Devin Tompkins, 9 for 188 and touchdown, and Brandon Bowling, who has been on our slides before, 9 for 136 and 2 touchdowns. Defensively, I'll go Vance Sanford for the Falcons, 9 tackles, 8 solos, and 2 sacks. Utah State covered +9 over 54. Way over. Number 21, North Carolina, another high-scoring game, 59-39 over UVA. A really small font. There was a lot of stats in this one, just like the Utah State Air Force game. Brennan Armstrong, dude. Oh, my Lord. 554 yards, 4 touchdowns. He combined with Sam Howell to throw for over 860 yards and 9 total passing touchdowns. Sam Howell also rushed for 100 yards. So, the quarterbacks alone combined for close to 1,000 yards of offense just with those two players. So.
What a football game is all I have to say. And I was getting updates from people in the stands going, are you watching any of this? Are you glued to SEC football? And I was like, yep, I'm watching some of it. I'm flipping this way. I'm flipping. It was crazy. And that's, I would love to see Sam Howell have 554 yards as I picked him for, the Heisman candidacy, but he on 14 completions had 370 yards and 5 touchdowns, and then had another 15 carries and 112 yards. So if anyone ever says college football is boring, you need to watch a game like this. And I know I picked Virginia. I do that typically in big games for teams that I root for. Check the Georgia games because it's almost a reverse psychology for me, and UNC came out on top.
Yeah, his first 3 touchdowns, 59, 37, and 75 yards. UVA did do a very good job, though. They were leading at halftime, 28-24. It was really a tale of the first quarter and the third quarter for UNC, where they outscored UVA 21-7 in the first. And then at the end of the fourth, they outscored them 21-3 in the third quarter. So I think those two really were the big difference. Ty Chandler, though, another amazing game for him. 20 carries, 198 yards, almost 10 yards per carry, and 2 scores. Josh Downs, Sam Howell's really only receiver that they that is as a legitimate playmaker for North Carolina. 8 receptions, 203 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dontavian Wicks for Virginia, also over 100 yards, 7 receptions, 183 yards, and touchdown. And another guy for Virginia, Billy Kemp, the fourth, 8 receptions, 106 yards, 2 scores. 3 different tight ends scored, 2 for UNC, 1 for Virginia. And then defensively, I'm going to go Timon Fox for the Heels. 1 tackle, 1 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, but 4 quarterback hurts. UNC covered -7.5, and it did hit the over 67, one of the highest ones of the weekend, and it accomplished what it set out to be in a barn burner of a game. 98 total points in this one. Number 17, Ole Miss continues to score 61-21, trouncing of Tulane to stay undefeated. Matt Corral again. Did you know that Matt Corral is now the favorite to win the Heisman? Because he is. 335 yards, 7 combined touchdowns, 3 through the air, 4 on the ground for Matt Corral. I mean,
this is what we thought the Oklahoma-Tulane game would look like, right?
This makes Oklahoma look very bad. Very bad.
What if Ole Miss wins the West?
They are historically one of the few teams that have given Alabama issues. I will say that, and we know that. And Matt Corral specifically, I don't know if he's played him once or twice. I think he's only played him once, right?
Mm-hmm.
But last year, I mean, they were giving Alabama fits because they made them outscore them.
4 touchdowns on the ground, 3 through the air. That's insane.
No turnovers.
That is insane. And what I like about Mississippi is revamped defense compared to last year. This is second year under Lane Kiffin, and they can run the ball. And we saw Florida give Alabama fits in the running game, which is going to open up the quarterback play. I'm not so sure that Ole Miss doesn't have a shot to win the West, barring injuries.
Yeah, Jerry and Ely over 100 yards on the ground, 15 carries, 105. Didn't score because Matt Corral took all the rushing touchdowns away. But, yeah, I mean, they have a bunch of guys. I mean, Parrish had 64 yards on the ground for them as well. And then they had Jonathan Mingo go over 100 yards receiving, 6 for 136 and a touchdown. Ontario Drummond scored twice, 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. And yeah, I'll go with probably a Tulane defender though for my defensive guy, Darius Hodges, 8 tackles, 4 solos, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hurries. Thing is if it would be an SEC championship, Georgia Ole Miss, I think Georgia would be able to hold up.
Yeah.
Defensively, I don't think the offensive line could necessarily give the pass rushers because I think the coverage on the back end would be able to hold up well enough to give the pass rusher time to get there. So Ole Miss covered -14, and the over in this one hit as well. The highest one of the weekend, 77, because Tulane scored 82 points in this game. It was weird, dude. Like there was a lot of high scoring affairs in the late window. All right, number 23, BYU upsets number 19, Arizona State, 27-17. BYU had its own whiteout in Provo in this game. Jaden Daniels was so-so.
We've talked about it.
2 picks. Jaron Hall, was not that great either, but he did enough. He scored twice, unlike Jaden Daniels did. He also had 2 picks. And it was interesting. Gunnar Romney's brother, Baylor Romney, came in because Hall got injured. And what's he do? Has 1 play, throws a touchdown to Isaac Rex, who I was very excited to finally see back in a major contributor role, even though he only had 18 yards off 2 catches, but both were for touchdowns. Isaac Rex is one of my favorite BYU players.
We talked about BYU being different than last year, and we weren't sure that they were going to be this good. However, it's also a win against a team that we thought, man, high expectations, Heisman candidate type of guy, and he hasn't lived up to the expectation. For me, that's what this boils down to. That's not taking anything away from BYU. I probably will pick them in a lot of games moving forward because I believe in that defense. But Jaden Daniels just does not look – that's kind of the quarterback talk right now. Spencer Rattler looks okay, right?
Yeah.
Other quarterbacks, Sam Howell looked okay in the first game, looked better this weekend. Jaden Daniels hasn't looked that good. So what is going on? Have we identified the wrong people? Did COVID make everything weird last year? I don't know.
I think, again, it was that BYU crowd was crazy in Provo.
Provo's a hard place.
So,
play.
Yeah, love to see Gunnar Romney, almost 100-yard performance, 6 receptions, 95 yards and touchdown. Algier, not that great. Really, the only way Arizona State was staying in this game because it was a blowout early, and then Arizona State came back based off turnovers and the running game. Daniel Ngata and Rashad White really were the only reason this was even a 10-point game. And I will say, what a play. I believe it was Gunnar Romney. No, it was Tyler Algier. I don't know if you saw this play, Mark, but Arizona State had a pick. Jaron Hall threw an interception. Tyler Algier, who was on the ground because he cut blocked a blitzer, was on the ground as the defender was running down the field. Algier ran him down, tomahawk punched the ball
and fumbled.
And Jaron Hall dives and recovers it, and it's BYU's ball again. First down.
That was one of the coolest plays. And to me, seeing that and then watching SportsCenter the next day, like, how does that not you could put that frame to frame and be like the top 10 play, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is the definition of what a coach wants to see when you talk about effort. You never give up on a play.
Capital E.
Defensively, I'll go Arizona State defensive lineman DJ Davidson, 4 tackles, 1 solo, half a sack, half a tackle for loss, and a pass deflection. BYU +3 covers and under 51. All right, number 14, Iowa State demolished UNLV 48-3. Knew this was going to happen. Brock Purdy looked good again. They did get right like we wanted them to. They got the offense going. Brock Purdy, like I said, great. Breece Hall didn't have the 200 yards I wanted him, but he got 100 and 2 touchdowns. No turnovers except for Purdy's 1 fumble. And Xavier Hutchinson, 10 for 133, 2 touchdowns. Kolar had an excellent game as well at the tight end position. 1 sentence and move on.
Brock Purdy was the type of play that we expect.
Defensively,
Xavier in the big game.
Jerry Vaughn for ISU, 7 tackles, 3 solos, sack, 2.5 tackles for loss. Iowa State covered -32, under 53 because UNLV didn't score a touchdown. They didn't score a touchdown, Mark, to get it over.
They sure did not.
2 points.
That would have been nice if Georgia would have just held South Carolina to 3 points.
Then UGA would have covered. This is true. All righty. Dude, I freaking told you. What did I tell y'all on Friday? Jake Haener was going to go into the Coliseum and beat UCLA, and that's exactly what they did. I hate myself for not having the balls to pick Fresno State outright, but I told y'all he was going to do this, and I picked this game up in the third quarter, and I was so excited that I did because Jake Haener played an amazing game. Toughness the entire game.
2 things about this game. I couldn't remember if this was on our pick sheet. I had to go back to the email for our games. And secondly, Jake Haener's performance is like a movie that needs to be recreated. The guy was getting hit left and right. He was on the ground. He got up, grabbing his rib, and just boom, tosses game-winning touchdown. It's like watching the Friday Night Lights with Billy Bob Thornton and all those guys just doing everything you can for Fresno State, wins, unlike the state championship in that movie. Just guts and glory.
And I felt so bad because it was like, dude, okay, they went down, they got the lead. UCLA drives back, scores, and I'm like, oh my God, dude, Jake's got to do it again now. And he did easily. They barely had any stops. UCLA didn't stop them at all. I don't recall on the final drive that they had. It was just wide open receivers. The UCLA defense didn't have any answer for Jake Haener and the Fresno State receivers. I'm so excited. Screw UCLA. I'm so excited they finally lost. And to a team like Fresno State, who is now ranked, by the way, this week, Fresno State could realistically be undefeated. They could be 4-0 at this point if they would have finished that game at Oregon, because that was a close game as well. So I think Fresno State, dude, the Mountain West is shaping up to be something special this year. Between Fresno State, Nevada, Utah State, Air Force is decent. We always have Boise State, San Jose State could be interesting. There are a lot of good teams in the Mountain West that could make some noise this year. But Ronnie Rivers, another great game by him with 21 carries, 136 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Another thing I was happy about, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, not that great. He did score 3 times. I got to give him that. But under 60% completion and turned it over once. Charbonnet, though, it was weird. The UCLA didn't run the ball very well. Besides DTR, ran for 67 yards. He was their leading rusher, but Britton Brown only 23 yards and 9 carries. Charbonnet only got 6 carries for 19 yards. Granted, he scored twice, but it was weird because everything that they did the first 2 weeks, they completely went away from in this game.
Different than, yep.
And I didn't really understand because you knew Jake Haener was slinging it, and you could have limited the possessions he got by running the ball a lot, and they didn't. So
Chip Kelly for you.
Jalen Cropper, what a game. 14 receptions, 141 yards and a touchdown. Also ran one in from 1 yard. Another Fresno State receiver, Josh Kelly, 8 receptions, 120 yards. And then 200-yard receivers for UCLA, Kyle Phillips, 113 off 7 for 2 touchdowns. And Cam Brown, 111 off of 5 catches for a touchdown as well. Defensively, we're going UCLA, Bo Calvert, 4 tackles, 2 solos, a sack, and 2.5 tackles for loss. Go Fresno State. They covered plus 11 over 65. Dude, I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning here watching this freaking game. That's how excited I was that Fresno State was in it and won. So I love Fresno State. They're my team I fell in love with after only 3 weeks of college football.
I'll take them.
All right, FCS game of the week. Number 3, James Madison took down number 9, Weber State. I know Chris will be very happy to see this result. 37-24. Cole Johnson efficient, 177 and 3 total touchdowns. 2 quarterbacks played for, actually 3 for Weber. But not very many big eye-popping stats. JMU is the number 3 team in the nation, though, for FCS. So,
yeah, we all picked this game and correctly, and it comes down to what we talked about last year with Weber State when they were winning ball games, and that was Chris's biggest argument. They're winning by 2 or 3. And they're barely winning. They're not that good. And I think it kind of shows that they're trying to figure out that quarterback position.
Yeah. Well, it was weird because Bronson Barron is their usual starter, but I guess he was hurt or COVID or something because he didn't play. Obviously, he's not on the stat sheet. So that probably was one of the biggest factors why Weber lost, specifically by 2 touchdowns. But I will say my favorite player for Weber is their receiver, Rashid Shaheed. I know I missed an S in his name. I apologize, Raheed. Or no, it is Raheed. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember if it's Raheed or Rashid. It might actually be Raheed. I don't know. But he is my favorite player for Weber State. He's very good receiver and also can return kicks as well. Shout out to safety Josh Surratt, 88-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Because we don't get ESPN doesn't give us defensive stats for FCS games. They give us who had interceptions, fumble recoveries. They don't give us tackles, sacks, tackle for loss, pass deflections, and the like. NFL, here we go. Niners staying undefeated, 17-11 win in Philly. This one, dude, I mean, the Eagles should have won the game. And it's as simple as that. They were dominating early. And really, I mean, the 4th down, what everyone's now calling the Philly unspecial play. 4th down at the 1-yard line, running the Philly special with Greg Ward did not work out. And that was really the turning point, and the Niners never looked back.
I think that I like that Jalen Hurts didn't turn the ball over because everybody was saying, well, he's going to come up against a good defense and it's going to be different than the Falcons. Well, he didn't turn it over. Not great completion numbers, but at least he didn't turn it over and he was able to use his legs. Garoppolo used his legs a little bit more than what I thought. And you're right. I don't know if you're right. In my opinion, I thought either team could have took this game. And, San Francisco did just enough. There were plenty of tackles on both sides, but you have to go back to Bosa, living in the backfield with 2 sacks, a tackle for a loss, and 2 quarterback hits. And that's what you want him to do.
Yeah, we talked about that matchup on Friday at the end of the preview for this game, and he got the best of Jordan Mailata. But Jordan Mailata, this is only his first year starting at left tackle, so it's, I thought it was pretty decent showing for him in only his 2nd game as the starter. So
it could have been way worse. I thought he did very respectable, and And in my opinion, the Eagles and Cowboys are gonna battle for the division right now, barring injuries.
Yeah, really liked. I liked what the Eagles showed in the first half until that point of the missed fourth down. You know, hindsight's 2020, but I know people were asking Nick Sirianni about different play call in that scenario. I agree. I thought that was not a great play. It was a risky play call on a 4th and 1 when they were already up. It was 8-0, I believe, at that point. And you're up 8-0, or maybe it was 3-0 or 7-3. I don't know. I think it was 3-0 actually, 3-0. And it's like you're up 3-0. You've dominated the first half so far, and you're calling that play on a 4th and goal from the 1. Did not like it that much, but like I said, hindsight's 2020. So I already mentioned Nick Bosa. So let's roll. The Niners covered -3 under 49. Raiders upsetting the Steelers in Heinz Field 26-17. Raiders 1 of 2 undefeateds now in the AFC West that no one saw coming. Broncos and Raiders are tied for the lead in the AFC West. Who would have thought that? But dude, I mean, Derek Carr, they had no running game in this. Neither team did, really. Derek Carr's balling though.
Yeah. Friday, I told you my 2 best bets. And then I text you the weekend. What about 3 best bets? And now I understand why the different, or 3 dogs. Sorry, I got it backwards. The 2 underdogs I thought people should go for, being the Cowboys and the Raiders, and both did win. Derek Carr, quarterback play. It wasn't terrible on Monday night. He just had a red zone interception, and he balled out. And that was also we talked about Waller being the 3rd best tight end. He gets so much attention, in my opinion, that Henry Ruggs has the stats that he has, but that's the key for their offense right now when Josh Jacobs is out, is he can stretch the field as Waller is double teamed.
Yeah, he scored on a long 60-yard touchdown that no one was covering him really. But I will say people have to take this loss for the Steelers with a grain of salt. Their offense didn't play the greatest, but defensively, Joe Hayden was out at corner. Devin Bush was out at linebacker. TJ Watt got hurt in the middle of the game. So did their nose tackle, Tyson Alualu. So that's 4 key guys on the defense that were out. I'm not saying that's why the Steelers lost and why the Raiders were able to do what they did. I'm just saying that 4 starters are out on the defense. That's
and 2
gonna make it easier.
2 things before we change games. One is Raiders defensive pressure on the outside is 10 times better than last season. And I think people were like, what is John Gruden doing giving up Khalil Mack? But when you give someone the reins, he turned that into a lot of draft picks. And are they panning out? I don't know. Leathergood didn't look all that good, but he at least has got the pass rush to respectable or even really good without Khalil Mack. Secondly, Najee Harris's stiff arm was nasty.
Yes, it was. Already talked about Henry Ruggs, Deontay Johnson over 100 yards in this one as well. 9 catches, 105 yards. Juju scoring on the ground. And a lot of great defensive performances in this one. 2 guys for the Raiders that I'll go with those. Solomon Thomas, the former number 3 overall pick for the Niners, 2 tackles, both of them being solos, 2 sacks, tackle for loss, pass deflection, and 3 QB hits. And dude, Max Crosby through 2 games. I mean, he's a monster, dude. The 2 tackles, 2 solos, tackle for loss, and 5 QB hits.
there's maybe one or two other people in my opinion that are leading defensive player of the year. I mean, it's only 2 games, but he's right there.
Yeah. I mean, he may not have the sack numbers at this point, but like he said in his post game, he said, you don't realize how hard it is to bring Big Ben down. So,
he's a big guy, guys. He's a big
guy. Raiders covered +5 and under 47. Panthers, baby, 2-0. I got my McCaffrey jersey on, got the Panthers hat on. We're rolling, dude. We're at the top of the NFC South, tied with the Bucs, beating the Saints 26-7 in Carolina. Sam Darnold had his highest passing total since, I think they said week 12 of 2019. Jameis, I loved that tweet from the Panthers PR people. They literally said Jameis apostrophe D. It was a great tweet, and Jameis Winston looked like Jameis Winston in this game. I was very excited to see it. McCaffrey over 130 yards total. So
both you and I were high on the Panthers coming into the season. I've talked to people about letting a coach really put his fingerprint on an organization, and the Panthers have done that. And the Raiders, to most extent, have done that as well, and they both find themselves 2-0, and in my opinion, knocking on, the playoff door. I don't think the Raiders are better than the Chiefs. I don't think the Panthers are better than the Bucs, but there's no one else in the division, at least in the Panthers division, that I think they're right there, second in the division. And Sam Darnold might not win comeback player of the year for the fact that people forget that you're allowed to changing scenery. You're going to have Dak Prescott probably win it because of injury. I should have thought about that. But he's playing a change of scenery, has been great for him. And his favorite target, DJ Moore, another big game.
Yeah, I'm sad that Darnold hasn't reconnected with Robbie Anderson for fantasy purposes. I'm very disappointed by Robbie's stat line the first 2 weeks. He did score week 1, but that was really all he did, and he didn't do much in this game either. But yeah, dude, DJ Moore is just destroying people. I feel so great about my yearly awards through 2 games, dude. Matthew Stafford for MVP looks great. Matt Rule for Coach of the Year looks amazing.
Looks great.
Christian McCaffrey for Comeback Player of the Year, dude. He has over 300 total yards through 2 games. So I mean, and then I don't know, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Najee's not looking that great. Defensive Rookie of the Year, though, I don't remember who I took.
We all took Micah.
Oh yeah, he's but it's okay. It's okay though, because I have a bet. I already said this before. I have a bet for Odafe Owe with the Ravens, who has played outstanding through 2 games. So.
Yeah, he has. I will say this, speaking of linebackers, like Micah, in a losing effort, Demario Davis is still a stud in my mind. 12 tackles, 8 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 pass deflection. I mean, you can't do anything else at the linebacker position. Keeping McCaffrey, under 100 yards on 24 carries.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon Zylstra catching his first career touchdown in this game. The last touchdown he caught was in the CFL 2 years ago for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And also Peyton Turner, first-round pick of the Saints, getting his first career sack in this game. The Panthers defense continues to be outstanding through 2 weeks. You can see Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, Morgan Fox, all with at least a half a sack and multiple quarterback hits. Panthers cover +3, under 45. Bears winning at home in their home opener, 20-17 against the Bengals. Yeah, Burrow, it was a disastrous 3-pass stretch. Four pass stretch. I mean,
3 straight picks. That's really what it comes down to. And And, being a professional and being a national champion and being someone that I think takes a lot of responsibility, he told, he said it falls on me. It's not as if Justin Fields came in and beat him. It's not as if Andy Dalton beat him. The Bears defense got it done.
Yeah. And as we saw, Fields threw a pick late. The Bengals scored off of that relatively quickly. They had a chance then, being only down 3. But it just wasn't enough time at that point. And so the deciding factor was the Roquan pick 6. And what a game for Roquan. 8 tackles, 5 solos, filled the stat sheet entirely. Sack, tackle, for loss, pass deflection, quarterback hit, and a 53-yard pick 6.
Thinking of defensive player of the year, he's by far first team NFL defensive right now, but he could vie for defensive player of the year.
Yeah. Robinson, not too much going on in this one. Chase scored for the second straight week. But yeah, Justin Fields looked like a rookie when he came in. So I think Bears fans were kind of concerned maybe at that performance, especially because he threw a pick that, like I said, gave the Bengals at least a chance to come back there. So
it goes back to you can say that's our franchise quarterback all you want in the preseason. We've talked about it, second team, third team defenses. This was a first team defense at a crucial juncture of the ball game, and we saw what happened. It goes back to, okay, the Bears won it. A, their defense played good. B, is he really going to – and for the small amount of time, that's a lot of 10 carries for 31 yards. Right now, to me, it looked like if he was to start next week, that's like a Robert Griffin III rookie season, and then someone's going to hit him really hard.
Which he might have to, which we'll see when we get to NFL news what happened to Andy Dalton in this game. But, yeah, a lot of great defensive performance. We already talked about Roquan, Trey Hendrickson with a 1.5 sacks, 3 QB hits, and then Jalen Johnson, second-year guy out of Utah, 4 pass deflections and a pick as well. Bears did cover -2 under 45. A lot of close games this week. Browns 31-21 over the Texans. Dude, what a stat line for Baker, dude. Baker and Tyrod, 90% completion. That's ridiculous, dude.
Unheard of.
Baker scored twice. Tyrod scored twice. Unfortunately, Tyrod got hurt, which we'll talk about. My guy, Davis Mills, threw his first career touchdown pass, which I was excited to see in a losing effort, unfortunately, for them. But I don't see. That's the thing, though. Davis Mills, I thought looked better. Granted, I didn't actually watch Davis Mills. I didn't watch this game. But just looking at stats, Davis Mills looked better than Justin Fields did.
Couple things about this game. Worried that the Browns wouldn't win this game at one point, and I'm pretty sure I picked them as a lock. Or maybe it was the Broncos. It was one of the B's. The other thing, Mark Ingram and Philip Lindsay looked terrible with the Texans, in my opinion. You can say that Philip had 5 carries, but a reception and a touchdown, and they're getting older. They do not look good in Houston, in my opinion, at all. And Nick Chubb's 11 carries, 95 yards, 8.6 carry, 1 touchdown. He's just solid. Does he have eye-popping numbers of the other running backs? Not always, but he's so solid. And then I'll talk about Brandon Cooks quietly in 2 games having a really great season, no matter who's under center.
Yeah. 14 targets for Cooks, man. He's target monster. And you got to shout out the fullback, dude. Janovich got a score. Granted, he didn't end up having any yards. I believe they said his longest carry was 1 yard, so he must have lost the one on his second carry. But yeah, dude, Andy getting in the end zone there, and Demetric Felton, the rookie, dude, UCLA running back wide receiver hybrid. His touchdown was beastly. He broke about 4 or 5 tackles on that touchdown reception that he had. So defensively, I'm going to go with a former Eagle, Camus Grugier-Hill, also a former Dolphin as well. 9 tackles, 6 solos, sacked, 3 tackles lost, and a quarterback hit.
Yeah, that's a big game. And Clowney against his former team, 3 tackles, 1 solo, 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits. I'm sure he would have wanted a sack in this.
And even though I know I said we'll talk about Tyrod, but it is confirmed Davis Mills starting against Carolina on Thursday night.
Carolina 3-0.
Yes, sir. And trust me, Mark, I know Mark Ingram. I have him and Philip Lindsay in fantasy. It was out of necessity. J.K. Dobbins got hurt. I didn't have any other choice.
I understand, man. It's bad.
Texans did cover, though, plus 13.5 and over 49.
It's got to be a scheme.
Rams, your Rams, Mark, 2-0. 27-24 win in Indy. And, dude, I mean, Cooper Kupp.
Still the logo. That's all I got to say.
Dude, Cooper Kupp is on fire. Dude, he just destroyed the Colts defense all day.
I'm not going to cuss on this, but if I would to use a slogan, he made the Colts his. It starts with a B.
Yeah, Stafford was slinging it all day as well. I wish for fantasy Stafford would get Woods involved more too. That would be nice to see, especially off of 30 throws. Maybe get 24 instead of 19 completions. I will say though, both defenses very, very good games in this one. Carson Wentz was running for his life all day pretty much. And Aaron Donald won the All-Pro matchup between himself and Quentin Nelson. So
there's a lot to unpack from this game, in my opinion. One, I loved what Matthew Stafford said, which I now would probably jump on your MVP train. He straight told the media, it doesn't matter how you win, it's going to be ugly sometimes, and you're going to have to win ugly ball games. To me, that's a sign of a leader, because he's been in Detroit with not as much talent, and he's won ball games ugly. And when you look back on a season, especially if you can make it to the Super Bowl, you have to win ball games any which way. And the second thing is defensively. I mean, we could talk about a lot of people from both teams. Talk about Joseph Day. We could talk about Aaron Donald. We can talk about Leonard Floyd. I mean, we're talking about guys, 9 tackles, a sack, 1 tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hits for Joseph Day. You already mentioned Aaron Donald. Leonard Floyd, look at that. A linebacker, 6 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 3 quarterback hits. So these quarterbacks, both of them were enduring just people in their face and moving the ball down the field. And the Rams found a way.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say about this, the Rams' red zone defense, I mean, it was outstanding. They stopped them with inside the 5-yard line, I believe, twice.
I think they're first or second in the league in red zone defense, or third.
And I was disappointed in fantasy for Jonathan Taylor. David Montgomery ran all over him week 1. Taylor only 51 yards this week. Very disappointed.
How's that other running back contract they gave out?
one reception for 5 yards for Hines in this one.
I just don't understand that.
Rams, the Colts did cover +4, over 48 by 3. Bills blanking the Dolphins in Miami, 35-0. Tua went out early.
Look,
Zach Moss.
Josh Allen didn't put up the MVP type numbers, but that is a huge win, guys. That is a division win after, supposedly being upset by the Steelers, even though the Steelers have a really top defense, top 10 defense, in my opinion, top 5. And Tua comes out with a rib injury. I don't think it's serious. But Jacoby Brissett, he didn't throw a touchdown. 24 for 40, not terrible for a backup, but he didn't go anywhere. And that just comes back to Buffalo's defense, in my opinion. We know Stephon Diggs had a touchdown, but the Buffalo defense, wow.
A marvelous touchdown from Josh Allen. To find Stephon Diggs,
that was
halfway across the field when he's rolling to his right, and to find him all the way over there was amazing throw.
The 3 quarterbacks that have made me say, oh, drop my jaw in the past 4 to 5 years have been Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. That's not excluding, Hail Marys that I've seen from Aaron Rodgers or the precision and accuracy that you see from Tom Brady. But with their legs, it's like, oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. I really liked Devin Singletary in this game. Had a big touchdown to open the game. But yeah, back to Brissett, though. He was touted as being one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league, and he put a dud coming in relief of Tua in this game against a quality Bills defense. But at the same time, you can't even get a field goal. I was pissed fantasy wise for Jason Sanders because, didn't get any points. Yeah.
Before we go, because it's 35-0, there's not a lot to talk about. Jalen Waddle has NFL talent, guys. He gets separation. He had 6 reception, 8 targets, not a lot of yards. And that's going to come in the future with getting a rapport with Tua or whoever the quarterback is moving forward for Miami. You and I both agree that the other, tag brother for Maryland makes them good. I am not sold on Tua being a really good NFL quarterback yet. Doesn't mean he won't. I was suspicious about Josh Allen, and I think Josh Allen is the franchise quarterback for the Bills, but Tua's got to play better, got to stop getting injured. His arm slot, I still don't like it.
It'll open up this week. Brissett or Tua, it'll open up. Will Fuller is back. Had a personal issue this week. Didn't play. So he's coming back this week for his Miami debut. Defensively, dude, Greg Rousseau this is not his rookie year, I believe. I believe it's his second year. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about these things most of the time. But he has been solid for a team. Yes, it's his. No, it is his rookie season. Okay, that's what I thought. He is also in defensive rookie of the year conversation, I think. They have needed a pass rush in Buffalo. That was their Achilles heel against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and he has adequately filled that role so far. Bills covered -3.5, under 48. The other divisional AFC showdown, Patriots beating the Jets 25-6. Did you know, Mark, over the last 5 seasons, the Jets, out of the 2 New York teams, are the only one to start the season 1-1, and it's only happened one time in the last 5 years between both New York teams. Only one of them has finished 1-1 once. Zach Wilson had his welcome to the NFL rookie moment in this game. Moments, I should say. 4 interceptions, no touchdowns.
Yeah, he looked good in the preseason, and it goes back to second team versus first team defense. We know what Belichick has been like against rookie quarterbacks, so it was an easy pick. He's brutal on them. He doesn't even have to score a lot of points because he's brutal on them. And I will say this, one, maybe for Chris's sake and other Jets fans, I don't necessarily peg this as a Zach Wilson issue. You guys have major issues on the offensive line. You can't run the ball. You can't throw the ball because people are running for their lives. It almost goes, and you don't have another option, but you could kill Zach Wilson's career, at least in New York, by having such a terrible offensive line.
I.e. David Carr.
Yep. That was my stop.
But I was happy. Michael Carter got a massive uptick in touches in this game.
He
performed very well. So I'm looking for that going forward. Again, going back to fantasy, I have Michael Carter in a bunch of leagues. Would love to get him into a starters type of snap count percentage. Braxton Berrios came out of nowhere to lead the Jets in receiving and to lead the game in receiving.
Someone besides Corey Davis, yeah.
Hunter Henry finally getting on the board. He led the Patriots in receiving with 42 yards. And then defensively, I don't know, there's a bunch of good performances. Josh Uche, second-year guy from Michigan, 2 sacks, 2 tackles, lost 2 QB hits, and then J.C. Jackson as well. Did you know, Mark, the list of people that have more interceptions than J.C. Jackson over the last 2 seasons?
One person?
0. No one has more interceptions than J.C. Jackson over the last 2 years. So
I like it.
And he's a free agent this year. Patriots covered -6 under 43.
Pay up.
Broncos beating the Jags 23-13. Like I said, they along with the Raiders are the only 2-0 teams in the AFC West. Actually, they are the only 2 teams that are undefeated in the AFC, I believe. But, dude, what a day for Teddy Bridgewater, dude. 328, 2 touchdowns, 76.5%.
There were 2 things I wanted to establish. One, Teddy Bridgewater has been and continues to be a playoff type of quarterback. Someone tell me otherwise. I mean, he did it for the Vikings. He made Carolina 10 times better last year. People thought they were only going to win 2-3 games. On the flip side, Trevor Lawrence might be a bust. No, I'm kidding. You can't say that after 2 games. But the turnovers have to be an issue. And the reason I say this is Trevor Lawrence has always been around good talent. And I'll even go back to the high school statistics where he's never turned it over. He had some really good people on his high school team. Arm strength, build of the quarterback is there. The roster for the Jaguars has been atrocious and continues to be atrocious. So what do you expect from a starting rookie quarterback and a freshman rookie head coach?
Yeah, it's tough. And I go back to my thing is like, I think Trevor Lawrence will realistically challenge Peyton Manning's rookie interception record because he already has 5 through 2 games. And I believe it's 27 something. It's 28, I think, for Peyton.
But Peyton turned out to be a decent. I mean, I don't remember his career. I'm kidding.
But yeah, the offensive line in Jacksonville is terrible. I think that's one of the biggest factors for Trevor Lawrence is the offensive line just cannot protect them. I mean, and it's weird because they have two guys specifically that are really decent at worst. I mean, Cam Robinson at left tackle, and then they have Andrew Norwell at guard. I mean, those two alone should be able to help somewhat. It just the other three positions are disastrous right now. One thing that they do have is Marvin Jones is having a really good season, regardless of the issues that Trevor Lawrence is having. Marvin Jones through 2 weeks has impressed. And what a great game for Cortland Sutton. Didn't do much in week one.
Big game.
Monster game in this one, 9 for 159 on 12 targets there. Was excited. I called this Noah Fant getting into the end zone. He didn't have specifically the yardage that I thought he was going to have against a poor Jacksonville defense, but he did get in the end zone there. Defensively, Von Miller's back on our stat sheet here. Sacked, 2 tackles lost, and a QB hit. And then this is exactly why Jacksonville signed Jamal Agnew from Detroit. 102-yard kick return touchdown for him. The Broncos -6, under 45. What?
I'm eager to see this division because we both were high on the Chargers. The Broncos, Raiders 2-0. We know the Chiefs are good.
That they are. All right. Cardinals in a close one. 2-0 Cardinals, though. The Vikings 34-33. Greg Joseph's missed 37-yard field goal as time expired. But, dude, Kyler is just not destroying people right now. I mean, the man has 9 total touchdowns. 5 in week 1, 4 in week 2. Threw 2 picks in this game, 1 for a pick 6, but didn't matter. They got the win.
I hate the turnovers because that's what's talked about, right? How many touchdowns does he have? But he is turnover prone. He is turnover prone, and when you get deep into playoff, not even a playoff, but in this division where you have good teams, when you get to that wild card position or you're vying for home field advantage, you got to stop turning it over. But boy, 29 of 36 is a great completion. But of those 7 misses, how do you have 2 interceptions? That's what I want you to eliminate. You know that I picked him in week 1, and most people didn't. You know, he escapes the pocket, throws to Rondell Moore. That was 66 of Rondell Moore's 114 yards. But that's what I liked about Arizona was the receivers. They got DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Rondell Moore. Then you add J.J. Watt for the culture in the locker room. And so I have been high, and I'm still high on the Arizona Cardinals. I think everything goes through the Rams the way that the, 49ers didn't score a lot against the Eagles, and then the Seahawks gave up a bunch of points. And the Vikings are just continue smorgasbord is a good word. Are you going to have a lot of penalties? Are you going to give up a lot of points? Are you going to have good quarterback play? It's one of those odd teams.
Yeah, I don't have a list of 0-2 teams right now, but I would think the Vikings are either 1 or 2 on that list. Because I actually do think the Vikings are a good team. I mean, they have the pieces with Dalvin Cook. Kirk Cousins, for all the crap that Kirk Cousins gets, I mean, he is a decent quality quarterback. He threw for 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over in this one, and they still lost. So, and Dalvin ran for 131, didn't turn the ball over, and they still lost. I mean, it's tough. But, yeah. all credit to the Cardinals offense. Even you mentioned the receivers, but even dude, look, I mean, Max Williams was 6 yards short of a 100-yard performance at the tight end position for a team that says they don't use the tight end position very often. Max Williams was 7 catches for 94 yards in this one and caught all 7 of his targets. But yeah, this was the game for Rondale Moore to finally break out with his 100-yard performance and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson. KJ Osborne has been a standout for the Vikings through 2 weeks as the third receiver. Really great connection between him and Cousins. Thielen, not that great of a game, but did score. And then defensively, Nick Vigil with the 38-yard pick six off of Kyler Murray. And then you got to go to Danielle Hunter with a 3-sack performance as well. And Chandler Jones, you know, he didn't have 5 sacks like week 1. He didn't even have a tackle in this game, but still hit Kirk Cousins 3 times. So the Vikings covered plus 3.5 over 51.
Not much to talk about because this was ugly early and often, and one team just put their dominance on them.
But it was a 3-point game, Mark. It was 28-25 at one point. The Falcons were rolling. Matt Ryan was going. Cordell Patterson, actually, they sort of had a little bit of a ground game going. But yeah, I mean, Matt Ryan did all he could against the Bucs defense, and then he threw 2 straight pick sixes to Mike Edwards, and that was the ball game.
No, I guess I should be more fair. I think that the Buccaneers set the tone and then after a while got bored. That's not okay because good teams shouldn't do that, but I just think they came out and said, okay, let's sling it around, have some fun. And then it was like, okay, we're bored. And then the Falcons did their thing. And then the Buccaneers went, oh, wait, we gotta win this ball game and go home, guys.
It's funny because it was 28-5, but with a 3-point lead, 28-3. Great reference, right? Tom Brady and the Falcons. But yeah, dude, I mean, Brady, what a performance. I mean, 5 touchdowns.
Nasty.
I mean, 2 of them to Gronk, 2 of them to Evans. And
I think that's a big thing to talk about moving forward before we move off. I have your opinion on Kyle Pitts' second performance, but 2 things that I took away from watching half of this game was early on, Tom Brady said, I'm going to throw it to Evans, who had kind of a quiet game. And I think he's going to have to do that game to game because they have so many targets. Like, hey, I'm going to throw it to AB to start this game until you match up correctly, or I'm going to throw it to Evans over here. And then in the red zone, we saw the first touchdown from the Buccaneers. He actually went to AB and he had Gronk down the seam and didn't throw it to him. And then right after that, they didn't cover Gronk again. And that's when I was like, the first drive of the game, what are the Falcons like? I know there's a lot of people to cover, but Gronk's got over 100 touchdowns in his career, and you're just not going to guard him twice. And so I think he picks and chooses it, in my opinion.
They're even more scary if vintage Gronk is back because he didn't do much last year until the playoffs.
2 games.
And I mean, he has 4 touchdowns, already. So, yeah, I mean, that's really unstoppable at this point. But yeah, Bucks roll. Mike Edwards, like I said, 3 pass deflections, 2 pick sixes from 31 and 15 yards out. And yeah, Bucks covered minus 12.5 over 52. Cowboys win a close one, 28-17. Greg Zuerlein game-winning, what was it, a 56-yard field goal or something like that?
56-yard field goal.
Buzzer.
Look, I picked this game, so am I happy? Yes. It was just a junk game, in my opinion. I felt like the Chargers were able to move the ball the way they wanted. This is the one thing that I will give credit to the Dallas Cowboys besides Dak Prescott. Their red zone defense is in the top 10 in the NFL right now, and that's what won this game. Because the Chargers did move the ball, Herbert's got to stop turning it over. He had a turnover last week against WTF. If he doesn't turn over, they win this game. But Dak Prescott is a good quarterback. I can't stand when Dallas fans go, he's not our quarterback to take us to the promised land. What more do you want him to do? He was 23 of 27, didn't get into the red zone. Okay, you can argue about that, but put you in the position to win. And the biggest storyline of this, it's funny that the Cowboys won and Mike McCarthy blundered this game. Listen to his post-game conference. He can't see the clock. I talked to Kellen Moore, who had a camera in front of him. Guys, there's a lot more than two effing football coaches in the game of football. And upstairs didn't tell him, and someone over here didn't tell him. He was covering face because the way Greg Zuerlein kicked last week, I would not have left it up to Greg Zuerlein from 56 yards.
Yeah, I mean, the penalties killed the Chargers all day. They got 2 touchdowns called back. And, yeah, I mean, I hate Tony Pollard so much with a passion. Going back to fantasy, dude. I mean, I have Zeke. Get off the freaking field, number 20. And I even tweeted out early on in the game. It ended up not being a great tweet because he ended up with 18 touches for Zeke. But I tweeted out early, I was like, I had a GIF that was like a rolling the eyes emoji. And I was like, yeah, Zeke's supposed to get 20 plus touches in this game. Really? Yeah, right. Like I said, he did end up getting 18. But yeah, I mean, Peter Schrager said it on GMFB this morning. I mean, Tony Pollard looks like the better running back on the Dallas offense right now. You're not wrong. It's just I hate it because I have Zeke in fantasy. But yeah, I was disappointed by Austin Eckler's performance. Did get 95 total yards. 9 receptions was great for PPR formats. So that's what that was. But yeah, Justin Herbert, the 2 interceptions killed him, plus the penalties. Keenan Allen over 100 yards like he always does. Mike Williams has been surprising, though. 91 yards and a touchdown off 7 catches. CD had a great game as well. And then defensively, I guess we'll go with Asante Samuel Jr. He had his first career interception of his rookie season. So let's go along with 3 pass selections. Then Micah Parsons played defensive end in this game.
Yep.
Because of Lawrence's injury and Gregory being on the COVID list. But 4 quarterback hits. I mean, he played that in high school, so he was natural. He knew what he was doing.
I love the versatility. I love it.
The Cowboys cover +3 under 55. This one was definitely not under 55. Titans taking it in overtime 33-30 at Lumen Field in Seattle.
What a game. What a game.
I mean, Ryan Tannehill's stats are pretty good until you look at Derrick Henry. And I also hate Derrick Henry because
he was the difference.
I was playing against him in many formats. And
100%, in my opinion, Derrick Henry won this game from the tempo, setting up Tannehill. Russell Wilson did what Russell Wilson does. I mean, you're over 300 yards. The only thing he could have done is maybe had one more touchdown, right?
Yeah. And that's the Titans had no business winning this game. They had no business being in this game. It was 24-9 at one point for the Seahawks. It was a Seahawks defense playing terribly. The Seahawks offense not keeping their foot on the pedal, foot on the gas.
I didn't like the play call when they had the lead would be one thing that I talked about this game. And the second thing is if you had about 2 more Bobby Wagners, they would have won this game. The man had 16 solo tackles, a sack, a tackle for a loss, and 2 quarterback hits. I mean, could you line them up at every position? You might have won this game.
And 20 tackles overall. That was probably the most ridiculous defensive performance we've ever seen on the show.
I think the penalties, I don't remember the penalties in this game, but for me, it was all about the field position and what plays you were calling at that time.
Yeah, I believe the Seahawks had over 100 yards in penalties.
That helped. I think that's really what helped the Titans.
Yeah,
Derrick Henry's 180.
I was disappointed. Julio Jones actually performed well in this game, over 100 yards. I still am not a Julio fan.
Lockett, another big game, following that up with some deep balls at Indianapolis last weekend.
Every week, dude. It's just all right. Moonshot, Rusta Lockett. I mean, it's like clockwork, man.
You're right. The Seahawks should be 2-0 right now. I mean, they really should be. And the Titans should be 0-2. But that's the game of football, right? That's a game of football.
The Titans plus 6.5 covered over 54. Another one that had the over. The Ravens upsetting the Chiefs 36-35 in Baltimore last night. And let's go to the 4th and 1 call. 4th and 1 call, 4th and ball game.
I agree with it 100%.
John Harbaugh asks Lamar, do you want to go for it?
How many times have you heard me say that coaches get too much credit for this and that? Your job is to put your best players in the position to win. And a game on the line, one, that shows me the relationship you have with your quarterback, and 2, you're coaching the right way. Because if you don't have that relationship, your ego will get in the way. Second, this was a heavyweight battle. Like, it's Muhammad Ali against Joe Frazier, in my opinion. And this is what a Sunday night football game should be all about. Hopefully we see these teams again in the playoffs. You get it off your back. And besides the running back, because I just love how the Ravens still produce, even though he didn't go over 100 yards with the injuries. All I can talk about is almost echoing Dan Orlovsky from one snippet that I saw. Just a terrible first half from Lamar Jackson. But the mindset to keep your composure and lead your team to win is MVP type of football.
Yeah. I mean, the defense for Kansas City had no answer for Lamar running the ball. 100 yards, 107 and 2 touchdowns. And like I've seen from other people saying, I mean, this is Clyde Edwards-Helaire's second year. He's a first-round pick. He was 32nd overall in 2020.
Yeah.
You can't fumble the ball there, dude, regardless of who's tackling you. I mean, I don't know if it made it worse or not, but a rookie, Odafe Owe, was the guy that stripped him and recovered the ball. But I do kind of agree with other people as well in saying, unlike what the Ravens did, the Chiefs took the ball out of the hands of their best player in Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I agree.
I mean, granted, you only needed a field goal to win, but why not just keep throwing the ball? You know you're going to be completing them. They didn't have many answers for Pat all night. He went 77%. He only missed 6 passes.
First loss in September for him.
First interception as well in September.
I've always said this, referencing watching Georgia or Alabama, you can't settle for field goals. Keep your foot on the gas if you have the momentum and just keep scoring. I don't care if you're like, no, we just need to run it for clock or this. No, pass. Get points. And that's what they didn't do. The Travis Kelce bulldozer touchdown was fun to watch. And you've already mentioned one of them, but two defensive players, rookie, Owe, 3 tackles, 3 solos, 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hit, 1 forced fumble, and a recovery. But week 1, Tyrann Mathieu was not there. I think it would have been even a different outcome for the Browns. 6 tackles, 6 solo, 3 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, 1 touchdown. What a way to say, hi, I'm back this season. Anyone want to talk about me being a good defensive player?
Yeah, opened the game with a 34-yard pick 6 off Lamar Jackson. And I'll just one more player before we go on to news. Marquise Brown. I need to start starting him in fantasy because the man has almost 20 points per game.
Yeah.
Really, I've been surprised at the numbers that he and Sammy Watkins have put up the first 2 weeks in the Baltimore's run-based offense. So Ravens cover plus 3.5 over 54. NCAA news, just one thing here. Big news out of Central Florida. Quarterback Dillon Gabriel talked about that game earlier, but
clavicle, right?
Yes, broke his clavicle, which is so dumb. He broke it on the last play of the game when they were doing all this lateral crap. And he got rocked. And I mean, luckily for him, he won't need surgery, they said, which I talked to someone else and I was like, we need to get a medical expert on here to tell me how do you break your collarbone and not require surgery? It just, in my mind, I don't understand how that anatomy would work. But sure, why not? No surgery for Dillon Gabriel. I mean, it's definitely going to help him get back faster, but obviously he's more than likely done for the season, I would think, being 3 weeks in already out of a 12-game regular season. So, all right. NFL news-wise, the Eagles, they paid another extension right before the game on Sunday, or actually got this one done on Saturday, just like last week. But they signed defensive end Josh Sweat to a 3-year, $40 million extension that has a max of $43 million, $26.9 million guaranteed. Again, Eagles getting ahead of the inflated 2022 cap situation, trying to lock potential building blocks down right now at lower than market value of what they will be, I think, when it comes to 2022 free agency. So great job again by Howie Roseman. This one, the Mailata contract, I like them. They're not overly expensive. They're not overpaying for these players. And they're guys that they really like and they have developed throughout the last 2 or 3 years. So I like it. I think Howie Roseman is doing a marvelous job in Philadelphia once again. The Jets, they signed safety Adrian Colbert off the Patriots practice squad. Now, what's interesting about that, Colbert just started for the Patriots yesterday. So it's weird that not very often that you get a starter that starts in a game for a division rival and then getting signed by another team in the division the next day. So, but he was on the practice squad. He was one of the pregame practice squad elevations that you're allowed to do. You're allowed to do 2 per week for the practice squad there. The Raiders, they released corner Nevin Lawson. He should garner interest, I believe, from some other teams. They're going to hope to get him back on the practice squad if they can. Just have too many injuries at some of the other positions they want to fill in roster spots there. The Eagles, we're going to stick with them for a little bit. They placed tight end Zach Ertz on the COVID list, so it's going to be Dallas Goedert, Jack Stoll going forward at the tight end position, possibly. Not sure how far along Richard Rodgers is on his injury. Might be able to elevate him if he is on the practice squad. The Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham, he tore his Achilles. He is done for the year, heart and soul of the defense. Massive loss for them, but it does bring Josh Sweat back even more into the picture. He's going to have to be a bigger factor on defense there for Philadelphia. Offensive line-wise, Eagles placed guard Brandon Brooks on IR today. He has a strained pec. Luckily, he has a strained pec. There was fears that both him and Graham were going to be done for the year, but it's not a tear, a complete or a partial tear for Brandon Brooks. It is just a strain. So going to be out several weeks, but not season ending there for their guard. Raiders, bunch of injuries with them as well, specifically at the quarterback position. Quarterback Derek Carr, he injured his ankle in the win over the Steelers. Head coach John Gruden says he thinks he can play this week. They're also dealing with having quarterback Marcus Mariota on IR. So, you know, if Carr can't go, that means it's Nathan Peterman this weekend. That's what it's down to. He's the only other quarterback on the roster at this point. The Texans, they have a bunch of injuries. Wide receiver Danny Amendola is out with a hamstring. Wide receiver Nico Collins, he's out 3 to 4 weeks with a shoulder injury. And then quarterback Tyrod Taylor, one of the many quarterback injuries this weekend. He has a hamstring injury. He is already ruled out for Thursday Night Football against the Panthers. And then he is week to week going to be out a while, they said. Going to Cleveland, the Browns wide receiver Jarvis Landry. He has a sprained MCL. He's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. They're hoping that OBJ will be able to play this week after not having played the first 2 weeks, still recovering from his torn ACL from last season. The Steelers, they have a bunch of injuries as well. Linebacker TJ Watt, he has a groin injury. Does have a chance to play this week, they said. So hopefully, if anything, he'll miss one game just like Devin Bush did and Joe Hayden, both missing one game with groin injuries as well. Both are expected to be back this week. Not so good news for the Steelers. Defensive lineman, specifically nose tackle, Tyson Alualu, he fractured his ankle. He is done for the year, placed on IR. Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, he hurt his knee on the final play of the game against the Raiders. Just like TJ Watt, I believe he does have a chance to play again this week. Not serious. So they dodged a bullet with that one there. Broncos have a couple linebacker injuries. Linebacker Bradley Chubb, he hurt his ankle. It is the same ankle that he was dealing with in the preseason. And then terrible news, my guy, linebacker Josie Jewell, he is out for the year. He tore his pec in the win over Jacksonville. Some other quarterback injuries here. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, he has a rib injury. The x-rays were negative that they did at the stadium yesterday. And today they announced that no cartilage damage was shown on the MRI, which is great. So Tua's day-to-day, we'll have to see if he can play this weekend. Bears quarterback Andy Dalton, he also got good news. He has a bone bruise on his knee. The MRI confirmed no ACL or MCL damage. So great news for Andy Dalton. But I still would expect Justin Fields to start this week. I don't think Andy's going to be able to come back just yet. For the Rams, your Rams, Mark, running back Darrell Henderson. He has a rib injury. Got an update during the show for that. He has a rib cartilage injury. They do hope to have him this week, though. Somehow, that's a tough one for a running back, though.
That hurts. That's where you're going to get tackled.
I was excited, not for him to get hurt, but I was excited because if he goes down, there's only one guy left standing in the way of the Funk show. Sony Michel would be the starter if Darrell Henderson can't go. And then it would be Jake Funk, dude. I'm ready for it. I want the Funk. Give me the Funk. Anything with the Funk.
I just want to see, some creative play call with our running backs that you used to see, with Todd Gurley.
Jags wide receiver Laviska Shenault Jr. He has a shoulder injury, is expected to play this week, though. And then the Niners, they just like the Ravens have been decimated at the running back position. Elijah Mitchell with a shoulder injury. JaMychal Hasty has a high ankle sprain. He is week to week, so most likely out this week. And then also the other rookie that they have, Trey Sermon, got one carry, concussed. So he is in the concussion protocol currently. Colts quarterback Carson Wentz. People were making fun of him, and I kind of will too. He sprained both of his ankles yesterday. And people are rightfully asking, how do you possibly do that? Again, this is why we need a medical expert on the show. I mean, I have no idea how you sprain both your ankles.
Game of football, you get tackled from both sides.
But yeah, they are waiting to see how he will respond this week to see if he will play or if it will be Jacob Eason, who played terribly. Granted, it was against the Rams defense.
That was pretty bad.
So with the Niners running back injuries today, they hosted free agents Duke Johnson and Lamar Miller for visits. And a note about tonight's game, the Packers, they elevated wide receiver Equinemius St. Brown from the practice squad. So he will be joining his brother on the field tonight. Amon-Ra St. Brown playing receiver for the Lions. Both of the St. Brown brothers on the field tonight. And then for Thursday's game, some injury updates. Panthers left guard Pat Elflein expected to be out, but they do expect to have running back Christian McCaffrey. Just dealt with cramps during the Saints game this past weekend, so he should be good to go. And then Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson continued to be inactive, regardless, despite the Tyrod Taylor injury, hamstring injury. Davis Mills will get his first career start on Thursday Night Football in Houston. All right, pick standings. We've all picked the same team so far for the Monday show. Yeah, I mean, they haven't really been that hard of a picks, I feel like. I mean, yeah, I mean, that one wasn't the Monday show, the Sunday Night Football games. So, I don't think they've been that hard of picks so far. We'll have to get some harder.
Raiders, we all picked the Ravens, and the Raiders came through. So
yeah. So, all right. Lions tonight, 0-1 at the Packers, also 0-1. And we're all on the Cheesehead train. We got a lot of Packers friends here in Milwaukee. So I expect Aaron Rodgers the ball. I mean, him and Devontae Adams, they're going to take their frustration on a depleted Lions secondary. Jeff Okudah, done for the year, torn Achilles, their best corner. So there should be no reason why Aaron Rodgers doesn't throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
You took everything that I was going to say if they don't win, I guess I'll go on the flip side. If they don't win, the Packers have serious issues, and you're living in Packer country, and you need to tell people that. Because after what happened last week, this is the prime game, division rivalry, secondary is depleted, that you just ball out. And he's been saying all week on live TV, stop, none of us are even worried here. This is our last go around. But if it is another dud, then you got to press some type of panic button.
Yeah, he essentially gave the RELAX speech again, in a different manner, saying it was only one game, that needed to calm down about the Packers.
I mean,
I agree.
I guess to my point, it would only be 2 games, but it would be 2 consecutive games that, in my opinion, even I don't agree. I don't believe in the Packers defense. You're still better than the Lions on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, and as Chris sent us a text, a screenshot from Twitter, there is one gentleman out there that is praying to every single deity out there that he can find for a Detroit Lions victory in Green Bay, to turn $25 16-team parlay into over $700,000. I am not praying for you, sir, because I want the Packers and I believe the Packers will win, especially at Lambeau. So
I don't know what was going on with someone in our group message. I thought we usually have all iPhones, but I was making a joke in there. Like, are you talking about Rusty? But it didn't go through. If the Packers do lose this game, and depending on how this season shapes out, you and I think a lot of people would assert that Aaron Rodgers is eventually going to move on. You know, not to stay on it for an hour. What do you make of Matt LaFleur, though? I mean, there's got to be, like, his second year. It's not working out with everybody coming back. Did they make the right hire?
Well, for one, from what I've seen from Matt LaFleur, he doesn't seem like my kind of coach. Just like he's a little bit different than Sean McVay, because I don't like Sean McVay either. That's from personally meeting him once. But Matt LaFleur just seems like he's quieter and a little bit stuck up. I don't know if that's a good word to use, but adjective to use, but that's just how I perceive Matt LaFleur.
Yeah.
The thing about Matt LaFleur that I've heard before from people that defend him, and I agree though, look at what he's done. I mean, he's went 26-6 in 2 seasons.
I know. And that's he might be there longer than Aaron Rodgers, and they might have their guy. I think he's pretty good offensively minded. He's going to have to get better on defense, whether that's better players, better DC, whatever it may be.
And I mean, they've got to figure out the cap. I mean, because they're getting screwed. That's why they lost so many players this offseason, was because they didn't have the cap space to sign them, like a Brian Bulaga. They've lost guys like Blake Martinez in the past because they didn't want to sign them to long-term deals. And
makes sense.
So, Packers 11.5-point favorite. Over under is 49. I'm going over.
Do you think Packers cover? That's big.
Maybe. Like I said, I expect them to come out hard and strong against a weaker opponent. So, I've said this today a couple times that I think they're going to destroy the Lions. But we've seen, it's tough to cover double-digit spreads in the league unless you're the Bucs playing the Falcons, which this is similar. I mean, this is similar to that situation, though. It's just not as good of a defense as the Bucs, Forgot to mention, though, this one is 8:15 Eastern, ESPN tonight, in a little bit, about half an hour. But forgot to mention, we do have a college game during the week this week on Thursday. It is 2-1 Marshall at 2-1 Appalachian State, a West Virginia, North Carolina matchup here. App State is getting 7.5 points. Over under is 57, and that is 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Thursday night. Yeah, I like App State in that one. I know we don't pick college week games. Chris sends me his pick every week for the college games, though. Anyways,
undefeated, baby.
I mean, I think App State will win. I mean, they're at home. It's on a Thursday night. Really good team in App State. I know you don't like Chase Bryce, but that's fine.
Still a good team. Still a good team.
Yeah. I mean, Marshall's decent too with their kid that they got at quarterback that I'm forgetting his name right now. Grant something.
Thundering Herd.
All right. Let's go to Thursday Night Football. We all picked the same team again. So we're all on the boat together. Panthers 2-0, 7.5 point favorites at the Texans. I should actually check that line right now just to see what the Tyrod news, if it has increased. No, it's still 7.5. So in Houston at NRG Stadium. And I don't think it's the offense. The offense has been very good with Sam Darnold and DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey. Texans have played well through 2 games. But I think really what is going to win it is the defensive line against the Texans offensive line and having a rookie quarterback under center.
Yeah. My first thoughts was, man, the Texans have played a lot better than I ever expected. Do I want to take the Panthers? Yeah, I'm taking the Panthers 3-0 because Matt Rule is a defensive coach. And if they are going to lose a game, I think it's going to be lost because the offense actually has a lull or too many turnovers. I think the defense is primed to keep them in every game. And I don't see the Texans' defense being enough to be that first defense that causes a hiccup.
Yeah, I agree. I think Davis Mills throws at least one interception because of the pressure. And Hassan Reddick, Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Morgan Fox. I guess I could keep going. I actually don't remember any of the other defensive linemen that they have. But, dude, I mean, they should eat all night. And
before we move on, what worries me is the remark that Bridgewater said about the Panthers when leaving. I don't have anything bad to say about the organization or Coach Rule or the coaching staff, but we didn't practice a lot of, red zone offense. And to me, that's still an issue this year. The defense is getting it done, and they, in my opinion, should be scoring more in the red zone. So I still think there's something to that story. I don't think it's as big as maybe Bridgewater made it, but Matt Rule, you guys should practice a lot of red zone because your defense is that good.
I think they did improve that, though, week 2. Week 1 to week 2, I think they improved that a lot against what was supposed to be a very quality Saints defense, and turned out not to be in that game anyways. But I think that was the biggest thing for Carolina, was to get over that Saints win, because that was the first time since that was the fourth time since 2006 that the Panthers had played the Saints without Drew Brees. And that was the first time that it was a meaningful game.
Yeah.
Because the other two out of the other three times, it was week 17, Saints were resting starters. The only other time they played them in a meaningful game, Luke McCown started for the Saints, and it was a tough game. So it's what it is. Panthers are getting benefit of the doubt of having a third place schedule. So it's great. I love it. Or fourth place schedule? I don't know. I don't remember where they finished last year. I think it was third. Yeah, because the Jags were last in the AFC South. Texans were third. So yeah, third place schedule. Okay, that's the end of the show. Got through it in 3 hours. Shouldn't have been that long. I apologize. We have too many games. It's my fault. But yeah, next Monday we'll be back recapping all the college and NFL games that we got. We'll also be previewing the Monday Night Football matchup. Early, massive,
big one
concerns here. Eagles at the Cowboys, and also the Thursday night matchup, Jags at the Bengals. Not as much star power there. But yeah, dude, Monday Night Football next week should be entertaining at the very least.
Let's watch some Monday Night Football.
Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. Also, check us out here on YouTube and Facebook. And if you want to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and the like. Let's get a Devontae Adams first touchdown score tonight. Mr. Rogers, please and thank you.